Welcome back to the Call Up, and we have a special episode today because we're joined by one of the best pitchers in college baseball, Jamie Arnold. Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time after, six shutty last Friday?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's awesome.
So I got to just start with how you're feeling. I mean, there can't be a better way to get the season going. And I know, college sports generally, you ease into it when you're, one of the bigger teams, top 25 team in the country. But I mean, it doesn't really matter who you're facing. You go six shutty, 10 Ks, and you're as dialed in as you were. I also saw that the passion on the mound, that last strikeout, you were fired up. So, how did it feel to be back out there? And, just what were you feeling like on the mound in general? Because it seemed like you were dialed in.
Yeah, obviously, it was my first opening day start, so I had a little more jitters than normal. And the first outing is always the toughest because it's like you're pitching in front of a crowd again. You've been facing your own guys for the longest time, and no, I was just excited to be out there and try to calm the nerves before the game. But we have some good fans, so it's easy to get fired up when I'm pitching at home. And yeah, I just like to have fun out there. So it was a good time.
Man, I'm sure you try and, tunnel vision all of this and February 14th rolls around and it's like, okay, all of my focus is on the opponent that I'm going to see this day, right? But there's got to be something a little different about going in as one of the top arms in the draft class, right, upcoming and all that. And it's okay, this is my opportunity to show people. And last year we saw Burns do that, and we saw Hagen Smith do that. And the year before we saw Dolander and Skeens do that. So did you take that and you feel like turn it into a little bit of positive fuel going into start number one? Like, you know what, I'm the guy that people are turning on opening day. Let's make the most of this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously all that, like it can be a distraction, but honestly, like going into it, I knew like I had to pitch well. Like you don't want to go out there and suck your first outing, but no, I just try to go with the same routine I had all last year. Just like put my AirPods in and listen to music that calms me down, and then just stick to my process, and that's what I did, and it works. So I'll keep sticking to it.
Natural follow up is what music?
Yeah. Honestly, I listen to like SZA before I pitch, like anything just to keep me like grounded. That. Just nothing. I don't like if I listen to like crazy music, it'll just get me going too much before. Like I need to be calm when I pitch.
Okay. So kind of building off of that, obviously you've come with like plenty of prospect pedigree since you were in high school and, won a state championship and dominated through there. But as Jack kind of alluded to, there's a different level of, eyeballs on you and energy when you're going into the draft year and, your name's popping up. And you mentioned it's distractions, but you can only avoid it to such a degree. Yeah. Sounds like the process is the process for you, but how did you manage maybe, or what were the differences of this offseason going into your draft year versus maybe the offseason going into your freshman year or sophomore year?
Yeah, I think just the focus is a lot higher when, you're going into like, it's like my chance this year, like where I can really prove myself. And so that was just, honestly, I think I was more focused this offseason than I've ever been. And, it's a good thing. I need something to keep me in check. So it was good.
I'm curious, like what that focus looks like, as you progress into your junior year, your draft year, because obviously, you're focusing on a steady improvement year over year, but I'm sure that steady improvement and like the process of getting there changes drastically. So from sophomore year to junior year, like what was your primary focus when it came to, fall ball and, maybe even summer? Because you didn't go out to the Cape this summer. You were in the summer or you were in the Cape between your freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah. So honestly, this offseason, during the fall, I was just trying to gain weight, get stronger, and I only threw 6 innings, so I knew it was like a good time to like. I didn't really care how I pitched. Like I was working on my changeup and stuff, but I was more trying to like get more physical and put on some strength. And moving into Christmas break was really when like it kind of set in for me, where I was like, okay, I need to like really get things down. And I started working out at Driveline during the offseason. They opened up one in Tampa, and so it made it easy. I could just go in there, get all my stuff done. And like, honestly, just like having intent with everything I did was the main focus, was just really understanding what I'm doing to get better and what I need to do to get better, and just kind of nailing that. And, just keep doing it every day.
I got to ask you, what we're going to get into your stuff and just the way you like to go about your business on the mound. But, the big part of why you're so difficult to hit is such the unique angle that you give hitters that they really just don't see. It's a sub-5 release height, but you're also getting plus extension. And are these things that, you worked on and were able to kind of push further and get closer to perfecting? Or is it just a way that you've just naturally thrown the baseball? Like, I'm just fascinated by the idea of like, how did you get there?
Yeah, honestly, I just throw like that. I try to just be athletic when I pitch, and I think I just have the God given ability to like that's my natural slot. Like I just got lucky. I throw that way, and then the extension stuff is really interesting because I didn't really try to gain more extension, but I know this year I'm getting a lot more extension than I've been. And that's something I noticed like in the last like my last 4 outings where I'm like, damn, I'm really like getting it out there. And I think honestly it just comes from like using my legs better. And I think like over time I've started using my legs better, and that's where that's come from.
Arm path as a whole, man. Like, have you thrown like that your entire life? Because obviously you're prioritizing being an athlete, but
Mhm.
were you in sixth grade pitching like that?
So I didn't start pitching until I was going into my sophomore year of high school. And at the time I was like 3/4, still probably like I was like here. I always had like the long arm action in the back, but once I got to college, I put on 30 pounds my freshman summer, and my slot just dropped. And I don't know why. I just started throwing. I didn't throw all summer, gained 30 pounds, and then that's how I started throwing. And then it wasn't clean really when I was a freshman. And then going into my sophomore year was when I really cleaned up that path, and it was a big help to our pitching coach, Coach Posey. He like really gave me an understanding on how I move and what I can do better, and so that was just honestly going into last year was my big thing.
Real quick, that is so important. And I love that you bring that up because you have to
Mhm.
have somebody in your corner helping you through like a unique arm path, right? Because if
Yeah,
you're trying to clean up mechanics and you're like, you're not doing it by the book, the classic cookie cutter, it's going to be
yeah.
really hard to try and figure that out. So I was going to ask you, like, who's the person that really helped you optimize the flow of your body and the movement? But it sounds like it's the people at Florida State and Coach Posey that
Yeah.
really helped you do that.
Yeah, it was all like really a posture thing, and because I had like I think my release time was 4.3 on the Cape that summer, and then honestly I just started out by like trying to raise my slot, and I started throwing a little harder just doing that. But then there was one bullpen before Christmas break going into my sophomore year season. He just told me like stand tall, and like because I was a little hunched over. So once I stayed tall, that bullpen I was like 94, 96, and it just like clicked. So it was like the big thing for me.
That's awesome.
Was there ever like a test to go a little bit higher again and then like find your way back down? Like how'd you settle on the exact slot?
Yeah, no, I think like once the season got around, like I just was worried about competing, and then it just kind of stuck. And now
Naturally.
it just naturally stays. So
And then in the fall, I think for some that are listening, they may be interested just in like what that fall process is like, because it's different for everybody. I know for underclassmen, you're competing for a gig, just like it's spring training or whatever it may be. But for someone like yourself, we talked about the off season focus, but I'm sure you were really dialed up, really excited to go, but you also don't want to unload too many bullets in the fall with a long spring ahead of you, where I know you guys are expecting to get back to Omaha. So how did you balance that in the fall where you're competing and getting yourself ready? And, maybe was it a little bit lighter than in the past because the workload you're going to be taking on? Like, was it different this fall than maybe other falls?
yeah, so I threw 110 innings, including summer ball last year. So that was obviously the most I've ever thrown in my life. So going into this fall, they really wanted to keep it as short as possible, and just really like I had a lot of bullpen work more than I had like live outings work, and so it was just like a lot of like really working on the changeup. Honestly, was what our big thing was, and so I didn't feel the best this fall. I was gaining weight. I knew I was moving a little too slow than I would like to during the season, but it was just about trusting the process and just getting through the fall, and obviously knowing that everything will come around in the spring if I keep doing what I'm doing.
From that slot, did you have a certain bullpen where you felt like the changeup clicked? Because we always talk about that, right? The funky slot, and maybe that
Mhm.
that lower
Yeah.
release. If you turn the wrist over, like you can create a blitz ball type sensation. Did you have that
Yeah.
moment?
So it was honestly the way I found this changeup that I'm throwing now is it's so simple. I was throwing in left field like the first week I got back to school um, this year, and Posey came up to me and he was like, I was trying to throw a splinker, and that was really what I was working on. He told me to throw the kick change, so he just like put me my hand in a circle change grip and just went like that with my finger, kicked it up. First one I threw dove, and I kind of just went from there with it, and
Cool.
it's been a good pitch for me. So I'm excited to keep throwing it.
Cool.
With how dominant the fastball slider combination is, though, and there's probably times where you feel like, especially if it's a left-handed heavy lineup, that you could just go fastball slider and mow through a lineup, but you also want to keep getting yourself to a point where, so if you're playing against a loaded lineup in Omaha that's right-handed heavy or whatever, you have that changeup feel getting better and better for you. How do you balance that? Because I know you feel good about where the changeup's at, but I'd imagine the fastball and slider are just on a different level because it's been there for you longer.
Yeah. So this whole preseason, like we were mixing the changeup in a good amount, and then obviously plan was to go in there and throw it all. But like my fastball was doing enough, and my slider was the best it had been this whole preseason. So really, I got in the game and it was working. So like, why would we switch it up? And we were talking about it, and I think like when we start facing better competition, the bats are a little faster. That the changeup will throw them off. I think right now the bats are a little slow, so the changeup's not really playing too well. But it's a long season, and like last year, I had games where like I could throw fastballs all day and get by. So I think there's gonna be games where I need the changeup. There's gonna be games where I don't need it, and it's just how it is.
It's funny, like talking to guys as they make their way to, AAA or, even when I was in high A, like it feels like they need to dive into a toolbox a little bit more in pro ball, obviously, because it's just a different beast and they can get by on 2 pitches. And there are a lot of guys that were like, oh, it's a great 2-pitch mix at the top of college, classes. But like that 3rd pitch, I'm sure is something that you look at and it's like, okay, I'm going to need to turn my wrist the other way once I get into pro ball. But it's awesome to have it now in ACC play. Do you have like an opponent circled this year, or is it just, every Friday I'm going to get the ball on shove?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely teams in the ACC that can get me a little more fired up than others. I think facing Clemson, facing Wake, and Virginia, I mean, those are teams I've played every year since I've been in college now, and they're always a little chirpy and always a little more fun to play. And then obviously Miami too. It's a big rivalry. So, I mean, any team on Friday, I always want to beat their ass. So can't say that. I always want to.
No, you can say it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. But there's sometimes teams get me a little more going. So
I love that. And you mentioned like listening to SZA before games and just having that balance and flow. But at the same time, I watched you walk off the mound, fired up like and going nuts, which I love. Yeah. So. Is that the controlled, you're letting it all out finally at the end of the outing? Or, do you let it out between innings and then you can get your heart rate back down? And how much of that has become a focus for you? Or has that always been there in terms of leveling the heart rate and the mental side through a start?
Yeah, I think, honestly, like, I don't plan to ever do anything like that. It kind of just comes out. And like I said, we have great fans. It gets loud in our stadium and they're always backing me up. So like, I think it just comes out naturally. Like in the whole preseason, I didn't feel that spark like when I was throwing, and I was just like wondering to myself, like, is it like, do I have it still? Like, what's going on? And then that first inning for me, when I punched out the last guy, it just kind of all came out, and I knew I was back. So, I mean, that honestly is just, I like pitching like that. I'm competitive, and I think it just comes out when I'm in like the big stage. So
I was curious, like, in terms of growing up, being a baseball fan, like it's clear you're so in tune with your body and the way that you're moving. And you're ingesting so much pitching information. When did you feel like being a pitching nut and a guy that really wanted to understand this? You said you didn't start pitching until you were a sophomore in high school, but were you like a baseball junkie before then?
Honestly, no. I thought I always was just like athletic and could pitch, and I never really put all of my eggs in one basket when it came to pitching. And I think really my when I went to the Cape was kind of when I started understanding things and really wanted to dig in and want to really try and be good. I don't know. It wasn't that I wasn't trying. I just didn't understand how to develop myself and what I should be doing. And then I went to the Cape, got to talk to a bunch of people from other schools and just kind of pick their brains. And that's when it really clicked for me. And then obviously Posey, my pitching coach Posey helped me a ton. He's great.
Yeah. Well, and through the years, just being so unique, did you ever have anybody try to steer you off of what you're doing because it's different?
No, honestly, most people have no one's really ever told me hey, you need to throw over the top, you're gonna get hurt throwing sidearm or nothing like that. I've been lucky to have good coaches that kind of just help me do what I need.
Well, and then
I was just gonna say, building off of that, with the way your stuff works, right? You mentioned throwing a drive line and things like that. Your data is going to be quite different as well. We already talked about the release height and the extension, but also the fact that you don't need to be getting 18 inches of vert to have a fastball playing at the top of the zone really well. Yeah. How much of that side of things have you leaned into now as well? Because naturally, like, you are going to be different. A lot of other pitchers have to find ways to be different with the TrackMan data and find ways to be outliers, or at least get further away from the dead zone or the norm. You never have to worry about that. But from like a data perspective, are there certain things that you're looking for? Like, do you not want to get too much horizontal on the heater? Are you still looking to get to a certain number vert wise, or do you just let it eat?
Yeah, honestly, I know the heater will play at the top of the zone, and really I don't care if I think I want more than like 8 vert on my 4-seam. Like that's really like the threshold I think for it playing at the top. And I know like the approach angle is like if I just get it up there, it's gonna be good. Like I don't care how it moves, it's gonna get swing and miss. And that's why I throw the 2-seam too. So like sometimes a 4-seam just doesn't feel good, and I know I can go to the 2-seam. And I've always like I think I naturally throw a 2-seam well, and it just has good arm side, has good depth, and yeah. But the TrackMan side of things has always been cool for me because my brother actually he's really a nut on all this stuff, and he's the one that like explains all this to me. I didn't know I was good until like he showed me all this. So that part of the game has been kind of a confidence thing for me. It was just understanding, hey, my stuff's good, my stuff plays here, my slider will play in this spot, my fastball will play in this spot, and just gives me the confidence to go out there and put the pitches there and get the results.
I was going to say, like, paralysis by analysis is a thing, and sometimes guys just overwhelm themselves with the numbers. But I love that you use it as a source of confidence. Like, is that something that, I don't know? Like, do you feel like you were lacking confidence before you really understood how good your data actually was, or was it, hey, I'm really confident, I'm clearly getting a lot of outs, and this is telling me, this is quantifying like how good this slider can actually be?
Yeah, it was just honestly I didn't understand enough about all that. Like I think that summer on the Cape was huge where like I actually got my TrackMan reports and I could see like what I was doing, what my stuff was doing. And then I was like, damn, like not really many other people do this. So it must be, and I'm getting swing and miss. So it must be good. So yeah, it's been a huge part of my game for sure.
How about the sequencing side too? Because, you have the 4-seamer that just sets up. There was a couple from I saw, like, a couple sequences I saw just in your first outing here where, fastball away on a lefty, and then the slider off of that, which starts at the same spot, ends up in the other batter's box. Like, how much have you started to learn and feel the way that your stuff can kind of build off of itself too? Where, I think it was a foul ball straight back on that fastball, but it set up the slider so perfectly. Next pitch, he waves at it. Like, do you get live feedback in the fall from some of your teammates and realizing how some of the stuff works, or is it just been a trial? And I wouldn't say trial and error because there hasn't been much error in your career so far, but is it just a trial thing where you find out what works more and more?
Yeah, so I think like honestly, the fastball we kind of figured out like I can kind of go. Well, now that I have the changeup, I can go north, south, and east, west, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot. Is like if I throw the heater up, I can throw a changeup right off of that and just have it dive. And then honestly, with the 2-seam, I can like make the little X. And I remember doing that the other night. I think it was like the second time through the order to a righty, and he had seen all fastballs that I beat before, and I went like 4 sliders in a row, and then just front hip to 2-seam, and he whiffed. And that was when I was like, damn, like. That was just like unfair. I don't like know how you can possibly hit that. So the sequencing stuff, like I don't call my pitches, and I honestly I tell my coach like I'm not going to shake. I'm not a guy that shakes. Whatever he calls, I'm confident to throw it. So I can like understand like what he's doing when he's calling them, but I leave that up to him.
So obviously you don't have that burden in terms of like, recall and needing to play the chess match, like remembering, what you beat a certain guy with last time through the order. But like, how is your recall on the mound? Like, do you remember, okay, this guy gave me some uncomfortable swings on the slider, I'm going to go back to that? Or is it something where you just rely on your catcher and your pitching coach saying, hey, they did this, here's the sign, let's rip?
Yeah, honestly, I do think I have good feel for like seeing what a guy's like on and like how his swing looked on a certain pitch and like knowing if I should go back to it. But my pitching coach is also good at it too. He usually is thinking what I'm thinking, so it's easy to go out there with him.
Is there any just idea of wanting to experiment with other pitches, or do you just like it's kind of hard to want to do that when you have what you already have, but I imagine it's just it can get so exciting thinking of like what else can I do on the mound, right? And like a lot of the most talented pitchers, like we will talk to, are just, look at Paul Skeens right now. It seems like every day he's like spawning a new pitch, and it's absolutely unfair. But at the same time, like, what you have works and works off of itself really well.
Yeah.
Do you ever play around with that or think about that, or is that more of an off-season thing anyways?
Yeah, no, I'm always like I like to try new things. Like I honestly I sent my pitching coach last night a video of I saw Tread posted haters like two seam grip. So I was like, I need to try this, see what it does, because I know his plays at the top of the zone and we have the similar slot. So I'm thinking about trying that. And I wanna add in a cutter at some point. I've thrown it before in pens and it's moved well and like exactly what I want with the cutter. I think I just need more velo with it. But it's not something I need right now, so I just haven't been throwing it. But I do want to add a cutter in pro ball.
Top of the game, who are your favorite guys to watch right
I was
now? So
about
you
to
mentioned Hader, similar slot. Are there guys that you're like, I could sit down and watch every single start of you?
Yeah, I like watching Chris Sale and honestly Spencer Strider just because I mean he dominates and Skeens. I think those three are probably the three that I'd go to and watch every time if I could.
Sale is like the perfect answer. Everybody was jumping up and down. I was like, thank God he's watching a lot of Sale.
Yeah, no, I know.
Through your recruitment process too, obviously you end up going somewhere not far from home, and you know, was that somewhere where you always kind of figured you were going to go to Florida State, or did you get pulled towards some other areas? How tough was that decision for you? Because I imagine you had a lot of options.
Yeah, so I honestly I grew up a Florida State fan, and so like you would think I would want to come here, but when I was a sophomore and I was like I just wanted to get out of state, and I remember I was really interested in Duke and I went on a visit and they never actually offered me, but I knew I was like if they had ever offered me I probably would have committed there like on the spot, but they never did. I liked Clemson too. It's funny, but I did like them. And then honestly I just decided one day like I remember I walked in my parents' like closet and I was just like, I think I'm gonna go to Florida State. They're like, they both were happy. They're like, actually, I was just like, yeah, I don't know what it was. The coaches were all different at the time, but there was something like I used to go to games here all the time, and I just thought like that'd be a good place for me to go. And I know a bunch of people from high school that go here, so it fit.
Dude, it's funny. Like they always have an arm too, and Aram and I have talked about that a lot. Like I'm thinking about even guys like Parker Messick and the Guardians organization, and like Bowmeister too. There's always somebody, and there's always a Friday guy. Have there been some like recent alums, recent draftees that you've kind of leaned on in this process, or no?
Riot Crowell was there when I was a freshman, and he was always like a big like he kind of took me under his wing, and talking to him always about like just everything college baseball wise. Like he just helped me like feel more prepared for like my starts or just my bullpen stuff. So honestly, I talked to him last year. I haven't talked to him in a while. It's been a decent amount of time, but he's always been a guy. Like it's funny now he's like asking me stuff if how to throw my slider and stuff like that. But he was always a good dude to talk to.
Well, speaking to the pro guys now and just guys that you can potentially talk to and you will definitely cross paths with in a year, a couple of your teammates, I know like people that listen to this show, very excited about Cam Smith and James Tibbs, but like how cool is it to see what they did last year? Obviously, what was that team like, first of all? And then I'll follow up with like Cam Smith specific questions because that guy is a freak. But just that team, like the talent, I think it's going to be one of those situations where people are going to like baseball reference your ball club from last year and be like, holy crap, they had Jamie Arnold, they had Cam Smith, they had James Tibbs, and it'll go on and on. Yeah. Did you guys know going into the year? Obviously, Cam Smith took a huge leap, and even Tibbs did too. But did you guys know what you had going in the fall and how talented you were?
Yeah, I think everyone kind of had a good feeling about what we had going into the year, and like we started out 19-0, so like we kind of picked it up quick. So playing with those two was awesome. Like I was with them my freshman year. We had 23 wins. We sucked. Like we all had like a kind of a chip over our shoulder going into last year, and I mean, they were both just two pros, like obviously just like getting to watch how they work, even though they're hitters, like just seeing like their approach to the game and just what they do every day, going about their business, like was awesome for me to see. And even like we had Cam Leiter too, like he's disgusting. Like that kid came in from UCF and he's downstairs right now. He's one of my best friends. He just like, I mean, he obviously knows a lot about baseball from his family. He just enlightened me on a ton of stuff last year. So we just had a bunch of good guys. Like everyone was down to earth, no really big egos. And, you know, we got along well and it worked out. We were a great team. I had so much fun last year.
What's the downstairs activity? Are you a Mario Kart house in college? Like there's always like a video game or something.
Yeah, we have, we got the Switch, but we were actually playing mini basketball before I hopped on this. We were playing games of 3.
Right.
I love that. You mentioned just the talent and not really having any big egos and things like that. How competitive was the fall? Do you guys do like live ABs and things like that? I imagine you're throwing against a Tibbs or
Yeah.
Cam Smith. That must have been telling for you. I imagine they still didn't do too well, but you're watching some of these live ABs with like a Cam Smith and saying, okay, yeah, he's probably going to have a big year. Tibbs making a little bit of a mechanical adjustment. Both of them did actually.
Yeah.
And seeing that what they were going to do. How competitive are those like fall live ABs when you're that talented?
Yeah, last year we definitely had like it felt like we had two teams in the locker room, like for the preseason, honestly, because all the pitchers were on one side and the hitters were on the other, and we would chirp each other during these like scrimmages, and it was awesome. Like I think that's why we started out 19-0 because we like really were having like it was like our World Series every day, and it was fun, honestly. And at the time, like Tibbs would be like, "I hate facing you, bro. Like I hate it. Like I gotta face you today," and I'd be like, dude, you're like gonna be a first rounder. Like, I don't know what you're saying. Like I was throwing like 90, 93 at the time. Like he was just complaining, but no, it was fun. Like I had so much fun last year.
So, love that. Hey, Smith in particular too.
Mhm.
I mean, like he's somebody that I know Aram was in on from the jump, and he's somebody that like had some like the EVs jumped out obviously, but
Yeah.
could you tell that he was a physical freak kind of before that like major breakout last spring?
Yeah, I played with him on Hyannis that summer where he hit like
went crazy there.
380. Yeah, like, and we all knew Cam was good. Like coming as a freshman, like we all knew Cam was like supposed to be a guy. But that summer, he impressed me where I was like, damn, like Cam's gonna like he's a first rounder, like no doubt.
Yeah,
it was awesome to watch.
Is there much of a backstory on the Clemson rivalry here a little bit? Is it just you guys have just gotten under each other's skin, or is there something specific there beyond what the average college baseball fan knows that you'd speak to?
No, I think like we played there last year, and I mean we got swept. They came back down like they probably had like 9 runs in total in a deficit and came back and won. But their fans are tough. It was a tough place to play, and it was a chirpy weekend series. I don't know. It's just they're fun to play. I mean, they're a good team, so I think just good competition gets you fired up to play them. So,
yeah, I'm going to be locked into every AB you have with Canarella against Canarella. That's going to be awesome, man. And I mean, he's a special talent too. There are some other guys that you're going to run into. I'm curious about goals for you because like a lot of the goals that I think people would assume are external where it's like, oh, I want to be a first team All-American, things like that, and it is in your control, but it's also not because it goes to a voting committee. What are your specific goals for 2025?
Honestly, I like don't have any. I know it's like crazy, but I just know if I like keep sticking to my routine and doing everything I need to do, like I just want to get better as a player, honestly. And like this is not the end for me. Like I know I'm going to play past college, so obviously, like there's a lot of things I could go out there and pitch my way to win, but I'm not like worried about all that. I know if I go out on Friday and just do what I've been doing, like good things will happen. So that's just really how I look at it.
Cool. Is there anything in a vacuum on the mound that when it could be 2 years down the line, it could be as you're progressing through pro ball at the big league level? But is there some things that you look at yourself now and look at yourself and what you could potentially be in the future and say, I'd like to get there, whether it's arsenal or execution or whatever it may be, or just routine, mental side? What are the areas where you feel like maybe there's even more to unlock?
Honestly, I think like I could probably throw upper 90s and sit upper 90s. Like I really do. I think I have like the mobility to be able to do it. I think a big thing for me was just probably getting more physical and keep maintaining the like mobility, flexibility I have. And obviously like as you get older, you get man strength. So I think like that'll just come into play soon. But I'm still like 20 years old, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think that skipped over me. I was going to say, I don't know, but
I'm good. I woke up 27th birthday like week or two ago, and I felt different. So yeah,
okay.
I'm fired up for that. That's going to be great.
Nice.
Hey, Jamie, last thing from me, favorite things to do away from the ballpark. Because, obviously we talk a lot about your baseball, life and your baseball progression, but, is it mini hoop basketball or is it something else?
Yeah, no, I like golf. I think anytime I can get on the golf course and play, it's fun. I've like now our Monday is our only day off and our school course is closed on Mondays. So it's kind of tough, but
righty or lefty?
I'm a lefty.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've only been playing for I think it's a year and a half now, so I'm not too good, but I'm trying to get better.
It's kind of a pitcher rite of passage.
Yeah, no, it
especially
definitely
when you
is.
get to
It
the
definitely
minors.
is. Yeah.
Did you hooped in high school too, right?
Yeah, I had to stop because I fractured my back, but I played
Oh,
till like through my freshman year.
and then at
It's
what point did you realize for baseball? Like obviously the injury expedited the I need to focus on baseball, but when did you realize I really need to focus on this because I can make a living off of this thing?
Honestly, like that summer I started pitching. Like my first outing, I was 83 topping, and then by the end of the summer, I topped like 87, and I committed pretty fast. So that summer kind of was like quick for me. Really, it was until like I went in the Cape and pitched, where I was like, okay, like I can really like if I like really do this, I can make money. So, but now it's kind of just. I mean, I'm at the point now where I don't even know how I'm here, but it's great.
But you're here, man, and you
Yeah.
are so much fun to watch. I'll speak for everybody that I'm sure is tuned into a Jamie Arnold start, and I can't wait to tune into the next one, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. Just the last thing I wanted to ask on that front is ACC. There's a lot of conversation. I know our guys at On the Clock who do our college baseball and draft coverage. Yeah. They're very bullish on the ACC. I think they're saying it might be tougher, sledding than the SEC. I know that got some people upset, but even in your time in college baseball, and obviously you're a part of this, but one of the best pitchers in college baseball being in the ACC will help. But have you seen the ACC just continue to get tougher and tougher? And where do you think that it stacks up, to other conferences in baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's probably neck and neck with SEC. I mean, there's equal talent in each conference, but I mean, there's so much talent in the ACC right now between Florida State, Clemson, Wake, UNC, like Virginia. There's so many good teams. You can't even. I mean, last year it was 4-4 in Omaha. That kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah,
so.
It does. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's exciting. But I'm excited for the rivalry games. I think we're going to be tuned in. We're definitely not going to miss the games against Clemson. We'll be tapped into that. But man, we're as Jack said, so excited to see you keep succeeding on the mound, man, and excited to see what you got in the tank. If it's upper 90s, I don't think anybody should even bother for the rest of the college season. But dude, congratulations on all the success so far, and best of luck the rest of the way, man. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you. Thank you guys for having me. It was fun.